Well, good afternoon. It is 6 o'clock straight up, and I would like to call to order our Orange County Mid-Decennial Redistricting Advisory Committee for May 7th, 2025. And clerk, would you please give us a roll call? And then keep your eyes open because folks will be coming in. There's David.
Member Oseski? Member Jackson? Member Kirsheimer? Member De La Portilla? Member Arias?
Here.
Member Callan? Member Jones?
Here.
Co-Chair Perez?
Here.
Co-Chair Evans? Member Baga?
Here.
Member Washington?
Here.
Member Spears?
Here.
Member Alfont?
Here.
Member Pizzini?
Here.
And Member Henry. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Bobby, we have quorum. And there's Mayor Kilsheimer. So there we go. Okay, at this point, we're going to move into public comment. Let me be clear, we don't have the hundreds of people that we've had out in the communities. That's a little disappointing, but that's okay. If you want to speak, if you want to speak, you'll need to fill out a comment card, public comment card, and bring that forward. For the record, we have 2 emails which will go into the record, one from Vicky Vargo and one from James Odom. So we will put those in the permanent record of this meeting. I've got a handful of speakers' requests, not many, but we're going to start with Patricia Rumpf.
Good evening. Is it on? Yeah. Good evening, everyone, committee and chair, and those that's in the audience and our viewing audience that's watching online. My name is Patricia Rumpf, and of course, my address is confidential. So it's 555 Confidential Way, 2801. And I want to say thank you for your time and your effort. I know it's been a lot, but thank you very much. And I'm here because recently the Pine Hills community has been the center of the discussion around redistricting. And that's a good thing. And I've not been here physically at all the meetings. I try to keep my Wednesday activity limited because Wednesday is my Bible study time. So I don't come on every Wednesday, but I go back and rewatch the meetings. And I observed a couple of comments, and there's a myth around about different areas like Windermere and Horizon West and Rosamond and Apopka and Lockhart and Winter Garden and Accord. It says, why do I want to be redistricted with Pine Hills? We have nothing in common. And that's not true. We have more income than we have different. And the main thing we have in common is that Pine Hills, like any other community, want fair representation. We want someone to focus on our organization and our community, and we want that fair representation like anyone else wants fair representation. We want focused representation. If you don't know, Pine Hills has a plan. Back in 2014, Pine Hills met with Orange County government, and we wrote together a strategic plan, a strategy, what we want Pine Hills to look like. And we have wrote that plan to build a town center around the intersection of Pine Hills and Silver Star Road. And thankfully, the plan is coming together. We finally got some infrastructure dollars back in 2024, where they're building up the infrastructure road along Pine Hills Road. We're getting a state-of-the-art transit station. So we have a lot in common. We have a vision for our community, like any other community has a vision for their community. The other thing that has been said that's not really true is that Pine Hills is an old community. We are a historic community. We was developed back in 1952, but in the old, outdated Orange County Code, Development Code. So because of that, we have recognized that since the growth of Orange County been growing, the historic established communities has been underrepresented undeserved and overlooked because of the growth of the new suburban and urban community coming in. And that's fine. So what I'm asking, my ask is today is that we have this opportunity now to seize an opportunity to redistrict, opportunity to, one, protect and strengthen existing historic community like Pine Hills as new community grows, and two, expand representation fairly for Blacks, white, and Hispanic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rumpf.
Yes.
James Hunter.
Okay, I guess the time starts now.
After you introduce yourself, yep.
My name is James Hunter. I live at 4521 RC Street, Orlando, 32812. The subject tonight for me is on the Bag of One map review that's going to occur. I wanted to re-stress back in April 30th, I mentioned about the competitive range. What I mean by that is that there's this statistical map or statistics that go with the map. And no districts, in his case, leans Republican, 5 lean Democrat, and 3 fall into the range of 45 to 55% competitive range when it comes to Democrats and Republicans. So my argument here is that we should have no less than 2 competitive ranges, 2 districts. 1 district is not good enough. So it's like a pie. 6 represents 16.7% voters, where 8, each piece of the pie represents 12.5%. So you can see you don't want to go down, you want to go up. So bear that in mind when you're approving these maps. The Bag of One map does that by saying competitive range of 3 districts. So that's pretty good. The second item that I want to bring up about the Bag of One map is, again, I'm going to harp about the proportionality of District 5. It seems like all the district maps are coming in with that east side commissioner spot being proportionally, even though your statistics don't bear it out, this is proportionally wrong because it's too big. I've argued that the commissioner cannot cover that space. It's going to grow. These are 2020 figures on population. So by the time you get this approved in 2026, there's going to be a lot more population out there at that district, whether it be District 5 or whatever the magic number is going to be. So I don't believe it's proportional, and that's just one thing I don't think you want to have. So I appreciate the time you put in, and I appreciate that my time is about to run out, but you listened to me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Trini Quiros. You.
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
I seize you. Yeah, I think the clerk has got, actually, I think we have 100% tonight, so that's wonderful. Trini.
Good evening. Trini Quiros, 2000 Hillcrest, Orlando. What a difference a calendar and a place makes. Look at this here, and look at you do when you do in the community where the people live, where the people feel, and where the people know that they can impress any of the representatives to see the real thing. Tonight I learned that there are 6 attorneys among you, and I'm somehow, how can I say it, pleased, because I know that as an attorney you know the law and you will not violate it, and you will not be forced to do anything that it shows that the people that are not here, they don't like this place. They want their communities. Basically, to me, I have always had the blessing and the fortune to be in nice areas, but now I'm a proud resident of District 5 in the county, and of course, District 4 in the city. Nonetheless, as I keep repeating, it doesn't matter to me where I live. What it matters to me is the working class, the people, the minority people that are usually not really serve as when some people take an oath when they get sworn in, but very seldom do they fulfill it, and then they get reelected to have more of the same. You will never find me complacent with anything that is not on the benefit of the people. I never say my credentials, but I am a college graduate and have several degrees, and my most important degree is political science and public administration. That is why I'm a voice for those who have no voice. The Bible, which is the book that I am ruled by, says, speak for those who cannot speak. And so I obey that. I don't see any changes for the better ever. And I've been almost 33 years in this county. So I expect that when this redistricting is over, that things are done the way they're supposed to be, not what other people wish to have, or what other people want to stay in positions and run for another district or so, because that is not really the way to govern people. Orange County has 1,500,000 plus people, and there is 1/3 of that population that I am a member of the Hispanic community, and they are the worst served in this county. So I'm looking for progress, and please, let's go back to the venues in the communities. The people should be participating in these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quiros. Derek Fields. I only have one more public comment card after Mr. Fields, so if anyone wishes to speak who just walked in, please fill out a public comment card and we will certainly call you. Once we close public comment, there won't be an ability to speak thereafter. Mr. Fields.
All right, good evening, and thank you to all of you for giving your time here tonight and just all the time you've given to better the place that we all live. My name is Derek Fields. I live at 5431 Bowman Drive in Winter Garden. That's in the Hamlin Horizon West area of Winter Garden. And I'm here to just talk about a plan for the redistricting tonight. My wife and I moved to that area in 2020 with kind of the hope that, you know, as a brand new area being developed, was going to be planned extremely well, and all of those sorts of things. We were really excited about starting our family there, and we've got a 4-month-old little boy here now. He was, you know, one of the newer residents of Horizon West, and I hope that he will see that community become a historic 100-plus year community like Old Winter Garden, Windermere, those kind of places. I'm not an expert on anything political or any of the things you all engage in, but just living in the area, it's evident that the growth has been explosive. Roads are overcrowded. From talking to parents that have children in the schools a little bit, you know, older than our son, a lot of the schools are getting overcrowded and things like that. And just managing the growth of the fastest growing area of Orange County is a pretty big challenge. So I love going to Old Winter Garden and those places, but the interests of these historic communities that are, you know, 100 years old or whatever and largely developed are rather different than the interests of places like where I live, where it's hard to find a building that's even 10 years old. And so my understanding is that last week we heard from 2 mayors in West Orange who proposed that they're represented together, and there's been talk of a plan to separate Horizon West and some of these, you know, newer developing areas and Old Winter Garden. And I think the commission has done an excellent job, but there's just 2 different interests there that are very separate. And so allowing one commissioner to focus on maintaining the legacies of these historic communities and another commissioner to focus on kind of tackling the infrastructure and growth challenges presented in an area like Horizon West makes a lot of sense to me, and I think it would benefit not only the people of the old historic communities like the mayors we heard from, but it would benefit people in my area and hopefully benefit the younger people like my son who are going to see that place grow and turn into something entirely different. Once again, thank you for your time tonight and for all of the effort you dedicate to your public service.
Thank you. As noted, Commissioner Uribe stepped in. Commissioner, if you want to say a few words, and Jim, you'll follow her.
Good evening, board. Again, welcome back to the BCC. You guys have been out on the road trip, and so I hope it was an easier transition. You know, I wanted to take advantage of just recognizing, attending most of the meetings and hearing the comments. Also, your co-chair joined us in Pine Castle on Monday night, where it was a different perspective, and I know, Tico, you were at County Watch and have heard wonderful raving things at describing this. And I think for us, the message is to continue that this was put on here by the voters, not by you all. You all didn't get together and say, you know what, why don't we do this for fun? And secondly, though, I love hearing the voices of the people. People have come up. You're starting to get that interest happening. Camille did an amazing job by calming the public because there's this fear of you're breaking Pine Castle. What does Pine Castle mean? You know, all of these things. And the previous comment about the West Orange County and infrastructure is really important here in this discussion. We were just discussing the Orange Code yesterday, and we're talking about moving people, and we're talking about densification, we're talking about infill, and all of these things that are taking place. And as you all are drawing these lines, while I hope that you can keep communities somewhat, just like in my district, and I was very humbled by some of my residents, something's got to give. You know, we're not going to be able to remain the way we are, but hoping that we take advantage and listening. I know that many of you are so well versed on what Vision 2050 will be in a matter of weeks and what the Orange Code will be in a matter of weeks. These are significant changes that are going to happen in Orange County. So as you are looking at those maps, realize that infill and densification is going to be a major, major thing. And we know, I will say, I have been notating every 2 weeks when we look at our public hearings, 70% of our public hearings are in District 1. They're in Horizon West. There is not much happening when it comes to new development, PDs, and all of those great things. They're happening there. And so, but I do know that there are cities right around there, and Commissioner Wilson and I have discussed, she's like, I'm not just Horizon West. I am Winter Garden, I am Ocoee, I am Windermere, and these other great areas. So you have a lot on your plate, but while I don't want to bog you down with the 2050, I do want it to be consciously in your mind that densification and fill-in is the main goal of Vision 2050, to urbanize us. So as you look at those numbers, just remember that as best as you can. And again, I still advocate to make sure that whatever commissioner there is, wherever, there is an unincorporated portion in that district, because a commissioner that is completely a municipality has zero power, zero influence outside of voting for other districts countywide. So thank you all again. You probably won't hear it enough. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment. And I'm just so impressed by all of you and your attendance continual every week. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have one speaker card left for Mr. Callahan. If anyone else wishes to speak, please fill out a card. Jim Callahan.
Jim Callahan, 204 East South Street. I walked 2 blocks to get here. I can commiserate with you now because I actually drew a map this afternoon. I'll need a sponsor. But I was able to accomplish a lot of what I talked about, but you know, there were places where I just ran into the numbers. The numbers didn't work the way I thought they would. But I did create a district downtown and a new district downtown and a new district in Pine Hills. But the Pine Hills district is a little star-shaped because there's a precinct, I think it's 224, that juts out from Lake Apopka and goes like 3/4 of the way across the vertical portion of Orange County there. And so I sort of had to draw around it, and that made it a little spikier than I intended. So we may have to split that precinct. Otherwise, I tried to follow the precinct lines and just assign precincts. So if I get a sponsor, you'll be able to see it introduced next week and debate it the following week, and I'll yield the balance of my time because I know you have a lot to do.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the public meeting portion of this meeting? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Thank you all. And we'll move into review and approval of the minutes. You've been emailed and you have in front of you the April 30th Mid-Decennial Redistricting Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Are there any corrections, changes, deletions, or a motion to adopt them?
I make a motion to approve the minutes, adopt the minutes.
Motion by Co-Chair Evans and a second by Mr. Alfont. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed, like sign. Thank you. The minutes carry. Administrative matters and review. Attorney White?
We can start with Ms. Williams.
Okay, Ms. Williams.
Thank you very much. Just really quickly, for those who arrived a little later, if you have not signed in, please make sure that before tonight you sign in. We do need your signature. And then also just want to let the public know and remind members that after tonight's meeting, the next meeting will be Thursday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. And that's all that I have.
So the map deadline for submission for that meeting to be considered is when?
It's May 16th.
May 16th, if you all will take note of that. Okay. Thank you, LaVon. Attorney White?
Yes, just one thing to add. We do have one map that is under legal review, and that is the map that was submitted by Member Font. And it will be debated and discussed at our next meeting on May 22nd, and it is currently available for viewing on the website.
Thank you. Scott? Nothing. Okay. Co-Chair? Anything?
No, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Anyone else have an administrative matter or issue that we need to discuss? Jim?
You mentioned that we had two.
Use your mic, buddy.
Sorry, my bad. You mentioned we had two emails when you.
Yes, they were in, should be in your email. I think they were emailed to everyone.
I only received one. That's what the only.
The other one, the others, there are two. We'll make sure you get it, Jim.
Okay, that's the only question I had.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Oh, you're not on my screen, Tom. Oh, now you are.
Oh, now I am,
Look
huh?
at that. Thank you, Co-Chair.
I guess the co-chair can operate better than that machine
Oh,
than you
absolutely. She's much smarter than me.
can. Well, I've missed two meetings so far. You and I talked about my concern of having a three-meeting out rule here. One was my daughter's graduation from med school last week, and then one was a friend who was dying of cancer.
Awesome.
Down south in Nevada, so we all got together. And I know everyone here has had a couple of things to go to as well. In light of the amount of these meetings, are we going to petition the board to extend that from 3 to 5 maybe, or 3 to 4? Because
I actually think that would be a great idea, Tom, and since I see the Chief of Staff is in the back of the room, perhaps she will raise that issue with the mayor and see if we can get some relief there. Because we have 19 meetings as a group. Missing 3 is not, life gets in the way of these weekly meetings. So I will follow up with our Chief of Staff and perhaps visit with the mayor and Camille and see if we can't.
And like everyone here, I have moved vacation in June around these meetings, and I will continue to do that. But there are certain events that you have to go to, and those two were two I had to go to.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Life is tough. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for bringing that up. Roseanne, I presume you heard that. Okay, thank you. Any other administrative matters? There's one thing I want to be clear that we bring out. One of the things that, and we don't comment on comments and we don't comment on public comment. However, one of our commenters talked about Republican and Democrat leaning districts. That is not something we consider. That's not something we look at. That is not something that needs to be in our conversation are in our play. I don't care what you think about when you're drawing your map, but as we have these meetings, that is not a relevant issue for us as a board. So I just want to be clear about that. Anything else? Oh, Commissioner Scott, would you like a moment? Thank you.
Tito, how many politicians say no when you offer them a moment to speak?
I'm still waiting on one.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say, again, thank you for your time. I mean, that's the most important thing you can give anyone. So you guys are giving us and our community the time. So I think it's important to say thank you every chance that I get, because you all have families, you have people that want to see you, and sometimes you're here 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. So hopefully not that 5-hour part, but thank you. I just have to underscore something that I think is also maybe being missed, not intentionally, but unintentionally. You know, as we talk about the transition from 6 to 8 districts, and more notably in my district, you talk about Pine Hills, that's one community. I don't think any community is going to come up here and say, yeah, tear us apart. We want to be here, we want to be there. But unfortunately, it's going to happen. And so I think as you kind of think in your engagement of this process, really looking at how do we approach this from a way that has the most minimal impact to communities? How do we create new communities that, you know, didn't know that they could be a family, and now they're a family with a commissioner that they believe represents their interests? And so just keep that in your mind. The other thing I would say is our county staff has done a really phenomenal job at getting this out there, looking at other ways that we can engage the public beyond how we've done that. We've challenged them with that, but you all may think of different ways and how we get the message to the different individuals that need to be involved in this process. I mean, we're talking about, you know, over 1 million people and maybe 100 or so folks, some of them repeating or coming and saying things. And so trying to find the voices that have not been heard but definitely have something to say. I've challenged the county staff to look at ways to maybe send mail to community leaders and community organizations beyond our list, like, okay, who's on our list, who's not on our list that should be. And so again, as you have this conversation, think about how do we minimize the impact and movement of people, not so much maybe how the district ultimately lays, but how do we minimize the impact of people. But again, thank you. I think I did pretty good, kept it under 3 minutes. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay. We will close our administrative matters and review of schedule conversation and move into presentation of maps. We have on the information agenda font number 1. Attorney White, do you need any comments on that, or are we okay just saying we'll look at it in 2 weeks?
Yes, so that's what I was referring to when I said it was under legal review. So yes, no further comment on that map.
Thank you. Jimmy, we'll look forward to hearing from you in a couple of weeks.
I'm sure you will.
Well, okay, I guess so. Okay, we'll move into our discussion agenda. Mr. Baga, Rishi, you got 5 minutes, and if you need a little bit more, as long as you're being reasonable, we'll extend you a little bit. So. There we go.
Wonderful. Well, members of the public, the committee, and co-chairs Evans and Perez, thank you so much for this opportunity to discuss this map. As I think has been alluded to several times, but it is important enough that it bears repeating, it is impossible for us to come up with a map that's going to make everyone happy. And I think that premise bears, again, repeating, because this one certainly will not. But I thought the way to present this best was for you all to understand what my objectives were in this, and kind of the logic behind this, and whether it achieves those objectives. So with that, that's what I'm going to focus this presentation on. If we can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about my objectives, what this map actually does, and then how, in my view, this map does achieve those objectives. So we can go to the next slide. This is the kind of the 4 main things I looked at when looking at this map. First of all, that was compactness. I think that's kind of the linchpin here. When you look at a map, it should look relatively compact. Second, but really more importantly perhaps, is minority representation. There's been a lot of discussion about the diversity of this county and the need to make sure that all communities have access to our commission. And so it was very important to me to ensure that we have at least 2 Black access districts as well as 2 Hispanic access districts. Third was to use existing lines wherever possible. One of the things that has come up in public comment is the sort of fear of if we change things too much, folks are not going to understand where they even are and what district they're in. So keeping areas together that are currently together where we can and where we use existing lines, I think that there's a positive that comes from that, especially that this is a mid-decennial process. And then finally, we've certainly heard from the supervisor election, so I want to keep them happy and minimize or eliminate the possibility of split precincts. So the next slide, please. These are secondary map objectives, and these are objectives that I kind of personally had, both from listening to public comment and some of my own views, being a longtime county resident myself. First, wherever possible, I'd like to group together neighborhoods with similar concerns and identities. I ran for office twice. One of the things, I was out in the east side and ran for the state house, but one of the interesting things I always heard were folks who lived on the east side, in the Alafaya area, would hear that they're lumped in with Lake Nona, and they were always confused about that. And said, well, you can't even get there easily. They're quite different. And Lake Nona has its own unique concerns. And so, I thought it was really important to try to make these districts combine those neighborhoods of interest. As a result, perhaps I wanted to, being an East Orlando resident myself, have a clean East Orlando district where, unified areas kind of came together. I think from the public comment, it became more and more important to me for us to have a unified Pine Hills district, as well as a lot of the communities of interest and historic areas in that area. Lake Nona and Horizon West are the 2 fastest growing parts of the county, so I thought that there was a lot of concern and discussion about making sure each of those areas are kind of fall in their own district. And then using highways or major streets as dividers wherever possible so that it kind of made sense. If you're on this side of the highway, you're in one district. If you're on that side of the highway, you're in a different district. So with that, let me go to the next slide. And I'd like to show you again what the current, oops, that is turned sideways. Is there a way to turn that? I'm not sure. It's upside down. Well, darn. I don't know why that happened. Yeah. There you go.
While you sort that out, clearly Mr. Baga is going to need about another 5 minutes. Co-Chair Evans and I agree. Does anyone have an objection? No. Okay. She'll set him for another 5 minutes, please, after this 1 minute goes by.
Thank you so much. Well, my shaded boxes aren't going to look great now, but if slide number 5 is just the current map, but we can skip that and go right to 6 as that we're on right now. And basically what this does and the sort of solution it comes up with is to carve out a new District 7 in that Pine Hills area. It would include Eatonville. It would include Ocoee. And I think that that would be kind of the new Black Access District that would be created. And then a new District 8, that would be South Goldenrod, Azalea Park, Rio Pinar, and that area as a new Hispanic Access District. So that's sort of the approach made to create that here. And then trying to maintain as much of the existing districts as we possibly can. So what this actually does, if you move on to 7, and this is all over the place too, otherwise hopefully we can flip that around, but it'll show you the areas that are kind of affected in the original, in the existing map. And what I'll start east, the area I know best perhaps. If we look towards that sort of Econ River watershed area, the preserve areas, it moves that all into District 5. I think the common concerns regarding the Econ River run all the way down the county, which is why it should belong together. It also moves Alafaya into that area because I think Alafaya, Waterford Lakes, UCF kind of belong together. When we go to South Orlando, I grew up around Hunters Creek and that area, and so I think Hunters Creek, South Chase, Meadowwoods, and Lake Nona kind of belong together more as a South Orlando, South Orange district. Taft would also join that. We move Winter Park into the sort of downtown district. Maitland would go into District 2. And Winter Garden also goes into District 2 as well. There's not really a particularly neat way to do all of that division, but I think it does maintain the core of each of the existing districts. So if we can move on to the next slide, this is what that ends up looking like when we do that. And you can see that it uses the 528 pretty neatly where we can. I think the character of the existing districts with some changes, moving Lake Nona into that sort of southern area and then moving the Econ River area into 5 so that's all unified. Other than that, it sort of maintains a lot of the look of the existing map. If we can move to the next slide. This is where I think it achieves a lot of those objectives. I think the districts are fairly compact. They unify similar neighborhoods. The map does create 2 Hispanic majority districts. It doesn't create 2 black majority districts. I think that's currently what we have with 6, but in order to create more access, it creates 2 black plurality districts. So the percentages are somewhere around 40%. But I think that will, and certainly because of the historic nature of a lot of those communities and the fact that there's a lot of common history there, that diversity will be reflected hopefully within the commission. The map preserves the core neighborhoods of the existing map, and it utilizes a lot of the existing lines if you look at the map. And there's only 1 split precinct. That is the precinct that is by, I'm glad the supervisor election's happy about that. That's by Ocoee High School. I was hoping to have 0 split precincts, but the only way to guarantee contiguity is to have 1 split precinct. But I think there's a pretty small number of folks that actually ends up affecting as far as that goes. So hopefully we can keep the supervisor happy there. So, I'll reiterate this as I sort of wrap up here. There's not a perfect map. But my goal here in creating this map is to achieve a lot of those objectives. And if there are precincts at the edges that you disagree with, and I'm sure there are, I think the way to deal with that is to let this map go through and we use it as a blueprint. Because I think that there's a lot here that can be used going forward, and we can continue iterations of this particular map. But I think by doing what we're doing with this map, we're preserving a lot of the nature of the existing districts. There's not too dramatic of a change, but it still does make sure that there's adequate minority access. It does make sure that there's compact districts, that it hits all of the various check marks that we need to have for this map to be legally defensible as well. So with that, thank you all so much and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Rishi. Attorney White?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and thank you, Member Braga. Just to start, just a reminder, this will follow the same pattern as the previous analysis have. So the first thing we're looking at is whether or not the proposed numbering is compliant with Florida Statute 100.041 Section 204 of the Charter. And under this plan, the numbering is compliant with the newly drawn District 7 being subject to that initial abbreviated term that's contemplated by the Charter. This map presumptively complies with the 1 person, 1 vote or federal equal population law standard. The maximum population deviation is 6.69%, so under 10%. All of the proposed boundaries are contiguous. In terms of the traditional redistricting principles, all districts are fairly compact. In the technical report, you'll note that there is several figures there for you to look at and numerous tests for compactness. With respect to preservation of municipal boundaries, the map does split several municipalities between districts. Those municipalities are Belle Isle. I believe under this map, most if not all of Ocoee would be contained in District 7, but it does sort of leave out a corner or a slither of Ocoee. So therefore, they're split between two districts as well. And same with Winter Garden. In terms of communities of interest, or also known as census-designated places, Claricona, Fairview Shores, Lockhart, and Union Park are split between districts. The cores of the existing 6 districts are preserved. And under this redistricting plan, at least one incumbent would be shifted from their district, and I believe that is Commissioner Scott. And in summary, I apologize, I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize for that oversight. In summary, the proposed boundaries are motivated by a reasonable balance of the race-neutral traditional redistricting principles. They do mitigate between splitting of districts that complies with the one person, one vote threshold, as well as the state and federal, I'm sorry, not federal, but the state contiguity requirements and compactness. And then just a couple of notes that based on to Member Baga's point in his presentation, proposed districts 4 and 8 would be the Hispanic majority minority districts, and proposed districts 6 and 7 are Black plurality districts with the voting age population constituting 38.65% and 42.76% respectively. And just a reminder that race cannot be the predominant factor when redrawing district lines, and if it is considered constitutionally suspect, meaning it would have to withstand a strict scrutiny analysis in a court of law, which means it will also have to be narrowly tailored to achieve a compelling interest, which in this case is compliance with the Voting Rights Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney White. Scott, nothing? All good. Okay. We will now move into our 15 minutes of discussion. I think, Angel, you were first up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Great job, Mr. Baga, but I do got a few questions. I've heard the word access mentioned twice now in 2 consecutive meetings. I think Mr. Samuel Villes mentioned Hispanic access, and you mentioned 2 Black and 2 Hispanic access. What is exactly? Please educate me. I don't know what that means.
I'd be happy
That's
to.
fine.
You know, I think, is that okay, or would you like the?
We want discussion, but let's have Attorney White.
yes.
If we'll stop the clock for her, we'll have Attorney White kind of give us that response.
Yes, so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Member Baga, but the intent was to draw a plurality district, and I think the term may be used interchangeably here in this context. But a plurality district is a district where a certain demographic does not quite meet 50%, so they're not the majority, but they're just under the majority and could influence an election with the help of crossover votes from other demographics. Whereas a majority minority district is a district where that demographic likely controls the outcome of the election just based on the fact that the voting population is over 50%.
Can I follow up, Mr.
Absolutely.
Chair? So is there a certain percentage, either attorney or Member Baga, is there a certain percentage that is considered for being that quote-unquote access of population?
There's no magic number, but when you're looking at the voting age population per district, the demographic that has the highest percentage of a voting age population would be the plurality district.
Okay. I have another question. I don't know if we have the answer. Maybe Scott can get back to us. But do we know what the African-American population, the voting age population is currently in District 6? Currently? Yes.
Well,
I think, here's my comment. I believe that the voting age population in District 6 surpasses the 50%, making District 6 a majority-minority district. Good. So the current map dilutes the African-American vote by creating 2, quote-unquote, black access districts, so you're really bringing the number down. But I believe that really should not meet the intent of our effort, because if we have a majority-minority district, in fact, we discussed this during charter quite a bit. District 6 was added by the 1988 charter that was passed by the voters specifically to create a majority-minority district. And we've had a majority-minority district for 38 years. So this map, what it does is reduces the African-American population in District 6, and we're going to end up without having a majority-minority African-American district. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Angel. And if you take a look at the statistics from the redistricting that we did 5 years ago, all of those statistics will be in those maps, if you want to know what is there and whose numbers are where. Let's move on. Tom Callan.
I pushed it for, mine is not working.
Your hands aren't
No, they're not working. I don't even show up as a potential push.
Okay.
It doesn't even show up, so.
You're lit right now.
But not here, just so, that's not what I see.
Okay.
So sorry, you can take yours off, I guess.
Okay.
So you can't hear me with mine?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I assume we're talking about Mr. Baga's map. Thank you, Mr. Baga, but it all says all font 1.
No.
So I misunderstood
Yeah, if
something.
you'll stop the clock, let me just go through this, because my co-chair had to advise me of it. There is an advance sheet here, the one with the green inserts, that is the information from Baga.
Oh, I see. So this isn't Mr. Baga's map?
Correct. That's a fonts map.
I got it.
Last week, you got Baga's
No,
map.
that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right
No,
map.
you are absolutely looking at the Baga information and then the Baga map we got last week.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Jimmy.
I don't show up, my name doesn't show up.
Thank you. I'm going to make this as brief as I can. One of the things that we need to understand is that when the people said we want to go to 8 districts, I've been repeating, I'm going to repeat it again. Each district needs to lose 70,000 people, and that will affect also District 6. Sorry, but numbers are numbers. I must come in your defense. But and like Commissioner Uribe says, something has to give. Something has to give. We did not create this. Now, with that, I would like to comment. I'm really surprised that you decided to eliminate your own commissioner out. That was brave on your part. I have to. But I must say that I have some serious problems with the map, and let me tell you where. Belle Isle is not my concern. Splitting up Ocoee and Winter Garden again, I agree with District 1. That's a no-brainer. We split again Clarcoma, Fairview Shores, Lockhart, who went to District 2 meeting in Apopka and begged us not to split them up, but we did. And then we take Union Park and we split it up. My biggest objection is historical. And before Commissioner Uribe leaves, I would like to make this statement. So if you could give me 1 minute, I would appreciate it. District 3 was the first Hispanic district in Orange County. In 1980-something, I can't remember, Bill Oropesa decided to take out our 33% and take it for a ride and lost District 3 by 2,000 votes. District 3 has had Mary Johnson, Mildred Fernandez, and currently is served by a great commissioner, Mayra Uribe, a strong Hispanic woman. You have converted District 3 into a 58% white district. You have changed it significantly. You put Winter Park and Maitland into it. And with all due respect, we have not had a 58% district in Orange County since 1962. I look at it like the people sitting here to my left. If the Portilla said, yes, we had to protect District 6. I respect that. But I also think that the first Hispanic district, District 3, needs to be protected, and that's one of the major reasons I will be voting against this. But at the same time, with all due respect, Winter Park and Maitland has nothing in common with Conway. And I'm going to say it in a very respectful way. I'm not sure why you decided to go this way, but I would have to take umbrance to what you're trying to do. You have changed the composition of District 3 so significantly that I have to vote against it. Thank you.
Rishi.
Absolutely. Just to address 2 or 3 points that were brought up. First of all, minority access and majority minority are kind of used interchangeably. One of the reasons why maybe a lot of us folks use access instead of just calling it majority minority is the thought process is that we shouldn't assume that folks who are in a majority minority district will always vote for their kind of folk, right? Ultimately, the thought is they should have access to whichever candidate they want to. So it's maybe a little bit more of a PC way to put it, but that's kind of they're used interchangeably, but it's a great question. As far as Ocoee and Winter Garden, I'll just point out they are currently already divided. That's the current map we have right now. So while I understand the concerns for wanting to keep them together, they are not currently together. They currently have 2 different commissioners. And I will point out, because I was thankfully and very appreciatively appointed by Commissioner Gomez-Cordero, I certainly don't want her out of it. I will say, though, she will be term limited out before this map is done. So that's one reason why it's notable that she's going to be the only one who's affected by that.
Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rishi, my bad. Good job on this map. I think it's a step in the right direction. I'm looking at this specifically from a District 6 perspective, and just historically, when we are talking about the makeup of 6 and what has happened over the years of 6, it's going to be really tough to start to draw a district from Pine Hills and not dilute the voting age population in the district, as Angel mentioned. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but I do just want to make a couple notes as it relates to Pine Hills. We've heard a lot that the Pine Hills community does not want to be split. They want to be in one district. There are a lot of good examples of, lack of a better term, good leadership in these notes. So in the city, there is Carver Shores that's split between 2 districts. They've been able to come together to do some great things. But the reason I mention that is because my concern is the future of 6 and what that would look like. And looking at the percentages here, I do share some of those same concerns as well. I do appreciate, though, that you kept the tenor of the district. Tangelo Park is an important part of that district. We have not heard from a lot of those constituents. They would like to remain together. Same with Orlo Vista. We've heard from one of those constituents, but they would like to stay together. So again, I think this is a step in the right direction, but I do share some of the same concerns. But thank you for putting this together.
Tom.
Rishi, thank you very much. It's a much better map than Mark's map. But it doesn't appear to be as good as Angel's map. I like the idea of what you really try to tackle. I do appreciate that effort. I know it probably took a lot of time. The one advantage this county has is, talking to commissioners, is that this is a purple county by district, spread out. Have a county that's elected Hispanic mayor, county that's elected a black mayor. It's a county who has had representations on the board of its governing board for many years. So those are good things to have. My concern about is dilution. Having 2 plurality districts may lead to none, especially with the growth of the urban infill, they call it, gentrification that's going on in certain areas west of downtown and north of downtown. So I like the effort you put into it. Has some really good concepts to it. I'm going to study this further. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. David.
Member Baga, great effort. I tried myself. This is not easy at all, especially at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. As you stated, this is a good template to move from. And just like Member Spears' map 2, I was hoping that we would move forward with that as a template to move from. I'm looking forward to discussing Member Afont's map. However, a great effort. And I don't know if I want to go back to the chalkboard with mine, but thank you, Rishi.
Rishi.
Yeah, I'll just say that I wanted to echo that I share very much the concerns of what happens when we go from a majority district to a plurality district. I also was thinking about it that would it be better to have 2 access districts? where there are plurality African American populations, or just have one seat on the commission. And I was thinking back to the letter we received from the various legislative delegation, many of whom expressed the true desire to have two African Americans on the commission, or two African American access districts on the commission. So I think I didn't know of a great way to do this, admittedly, but I think that listening to their concerns and with some trust in their leadership, I thought that this was probably the best way to do it. But again, I'll just ask you, I am all for there being a BAGA 2, 3, and 4. I mean, this doesn't have to be it. But I think that we can use this as a template. I encourage everyone to use it and play with the margins, play with those districts, and see if you can come up with something better, because I cannot tell you this is perfect, but I do think that this does address a lot of the concerns that we have.
Could you stop the clock for 1 second? I just want to say we have until July to submit maps to be considered. And then the meetings in July and August are going to be considering those maps. So if we're going to continue to play around with these maps, we've got about a month and a half to do that. It's a lot easier to change maps on the fly. And I say this because I think Rishi gave a good effort, and I would hate to forego good waiting on perfect, because we're not going to get perfect. But we need to have some in the hopper to work with towards the end of this process. And just because every map hasn't been perfect, I liked Gordon's maps last week as well, we need to make sure we've got some in the hopper to work with once we get through this process. I feel a little bit like we're looking for perfect every time, and one fatal flaw kills a map. And here's a hint: our map's going to have a fatal flaw. It's just going to have it. So I just want to put into perspective the timelines on these things, because after the first week of July, there will be no more map submissions. So it will only have what we have in the hopper at that point in time to work with. And if you'll start the clock again, and Shonda, I see you've buzzed in.
Yes, so you may want to keep the clock paused just for a second. So I was actually able to pull up the raw data from the 2022 redistricting effort, and the black voting age population in District 6 in 2022 was 45.47%. So not quite a majority minority district, but it is in fact a plurality district. So that's something for you all to consider when you're debating. And also, when we're looking at vote dilution and whether or not a district will afford a minority to elect a candidate of their choice, we're going to look at those Gingles factors, if you would recall the Thornburg versus Gingles case. So that actually would require a separate analysis on voting patterns, on whether or not that demographic consistently votes as a block. But that's not something that we're able to analyze at this moment. It would probably require retention of an expert, and that is something that was done during the last redistricting effort as well.
Thank you, Attorney White. If you'll restart the clock, Co-Chair Evans.
Thank you. I wanted to also thank you, because I think that your presentation was excellent, particularly because you laid out the objectives and you demonstrated how your map attempted to achieve those. I think this map looks more like the reality of the sausage making process that we're going to have to engage in. I think that there's plenty of things that I'd like to fix on your map. I don't share my co-chair's agreement that we have to keep things on the table till we see perfect. I'm okay with voting something down until we get further down the road, but I want to say that this is a map that reflects the level of change we'll probably see in our county by the time this is finished, and I appreciate the effort, because this is a true evidence of how unclean we'll walk away. And not like our hands aren't clean, but like just that ultimately drawing these new lines for 8 districts is going to be very much a different look for our county. And so I think it's a good shock value moment for us too.
Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For all the Gator fans on the panel, you'll be excited. I'm going to be quoting former University of Florida Athletic Director Jeremy Foley, who said something that needs to be done eventually must be done immediately. And there's 11 people on this panel who haven't submitted a map. We have a lot of talent up here. And so I think that if we know something's not right, I think we can act upon it knowing in full confidence. We have 11 members, and I will give a personal shout out that we have a map in the bullpen that it looks very attractive to me. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bobby. Mark?
So, along the lines of what you were saying, we have about a month and a half to submit the maps. If I recall, in one of the prior meetings, we could actually take Mr. Baga's map. Actually, Tom could take Mr. Baga's map and draw one line and then pretend that it's his map.
That's
right?
true. And Tom is liable to do that.
Yeah, he is, exactly. So my point is, and respectfully, I think you did a great job, but I think I'm along the lines of Bobby, and not that I necessarily need to reject this, but I think we can all grab this map, tweak it, and then represent it and say, that's my map, which is probably what Tom would do.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. I don't have any other comments in queue. Does anyone else wish to speak on this? You have 3 seconds. This clock has stopped. I don't know why. Does anyone else wish to speak on this topic, or if not, I'm ready for a motion. Do I have a motion?
I'll actually move to accept this map rather than the last.
That's okay. Okay. We have a motion and a second by Member Jones to accept. I thought you said second.
No, I was actually going to make an alternative motion.
Wait. Let me see if I got a second for the motion to accept the map. Is there a second? There's a second. Jason seconds that. We'll go into discussion, and then, Angel, you can amend it or change it if we vote it up or down. We've got a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on the motion to approve the map?
Just going to repeat what I said. I don't think that the map that we should move forward is a map that dilutes the African American vote in District 6, which is the very purpose what District 6 was created for in 1988. I think we can move forward. I agree with Co-Chair Evans. We've got to work for something and move something along, but not this one. We've got more time, so I will be voting against the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other comments on the motion to approve this map? Will someone call the question?
I'll call it.
All right, question is called. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Member Olszewski.
Nay.
Member Jackson. Member Kirsheimer. Member De La Portilla. Member Arias. Member Callan. Co-Chair Perez.
Aye.
Member Jones.
Nay.
Co-Chair Evans.
Nay. I do.
Member Baga. Member Washington. Member Spears. Member Afont. Member Pizzini. And Member Henry.
Well, the motion fails 8-7. On my count, clerk, will you confirm for me?
Yes.
Okay, motion fails 8-7. That's the best anyone has done. Rishi, congratulations. Well done, sir. Now, we still do not have a motion to reject the map. I assume, Mr. De La Portilla, you would like to do that. Got a motion to reject the map from Mr. De La Portilla, seconded by Mr. Arias. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Member Olszewski.
Aye.
Member Jackson. Member Kirsheimer. Member De La Portilla. Member Arias. Member Callan. Member Jones?
Aye.
Co-Chair Perez?
Aye.
Co-Chair Evans?
Aye.
Member Baga?
Amen.
Member Washington?
Nay.
Member Spears? Member Afont?
Aye.
Member Pizzini? And Member Henry? Motion passes.
Motion carries 11-5. Again, Rishi, thank you. That was a great job, and I think we do have starting points, and I'll expect a one-line move from Mr. Callan in the next week or two. We'll move into general discussion at this point. Does anyone have anything to bring up just in general? I can tell you that I had the pleasure of speaking to County Watch, and I know Camille spoke as well. There has been a decent amount of interest out there, just for the public knows. We are very amenable to coming out and speaking and having any conversation you want, as long as if there's two of us there, you coordinate that through Attorney White and we get public notice in the sunshine of that meeting. Any other comments? Yeah, David.
I just want to thank you on behalf of County Watch for coming out Saturday to meet with the membership and share the information about the redistricting process and answer the questions. And we were very happy that you took the time out of your day to be there with us, and hopefully you enjoyed your breakfast.
I don't know who does breakfast at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. It's just that you don't do breakfast on Saturday. You wake up for lunch. Mr. De La Portilla. Mr. De La Portilla.
Mr. Chairman, I will not be at the next meeting. I'm taking an early summer vacation, so I'll be gone for about 10 days, but I'll be here at June and July and August and throughout the process. So.
Well, we look very forward to your return, Angel. Have a great trip. Camille.
Yes, I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Uribe said, and also with the onset of Vision 2050, I am very clear. Our analysis has to be done off Census 2020 data. But I think for the benefit of this group, if we include in the resources available online, perhaps something that shows where the targeted and intended sectors for Vision 2050 are within the county, so that as we are figuring out where we are having higher amounts of populations versus smaller amounts, where that deviation is between the districts, that we as members can be kind of mindful of what the growth will look like in that district. Because if we're expecting, a district that's going to be one of the larger districts to also be a place where we're going to turn around and see a lot of growth, then by the time we're doing redistricting in a few years, we're going to have to revise that district drastically. So to the extent that our efforts can be conscientious of where the growth is expected to be, obviously we are tied to the 2020 census data, but I think if we just can include some sort of resource within our collection of resources online, it will just be helpful from a vision point. But again, 2020 census data is where our magic must be focused.
I just want to point out that Co-Chair Evans said we will be redrawing the lines in 5 years, so I'm thrilled for her volunteering to step up and do this process.
No. The county.
It is
like
on
we
record.
as a county.
It is
Don't
on
worry.
record.
Don't worry.
It is on record. Jimmy?
Now that you bring up your co-chair, in 2020, neither of you presented a map, so I'm expecting a map from you, Tico.
No, we will not be presenting maps.
Okay.
Yeah. We are here from the mayor to be your traffic cop. That's what we're here to do. Any other comments? Attorney White?
Nothing for me.
Nothing, Levon? Scott? Nothing? Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Jones. Oh, yes. Well, May 22nd?
May 22nd at 6 p.m. here at the Board of County Commissioners chambers.
Great. And then we will promote this because I would like more folks here, and I know it's a challenge to get here, but we've been out all around. So if we could just continue to promote this as we have, that would be great. I have a motion from Member Jones to adjourn. Is there a second? I second. Is there any, well, that was awfully enthusiastic, Jimmy. Okay. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we stand adjourned. Have a great 2 weeks, everyone. Thank you for your work.